that look about half? Or is it, or a little more?
Oh, okay, yeah. Arming starts and stops.
My name's Tony Horn. I'm a retired fire captain from the city of Colton. I spent 30 years there. I've owned a place up here since 1982, and I came back in 2012. Well, 6 years ago, I noticed that this monument kind of had been forgotten. So I decided to paint the letters and put a flagpole and remember 9/11 every year. I come here and stay for 3 nights. And the most important thing for me is it had to have some kind of purpose. It is about a sad event, but however, in this day and age, what we can do is we can take the loss of what happened at 9/11, and those kids lost their parent or their loved one, and we can't do anything about that, nor are funds available to help them. But we can take that in memory for the Boys and Girls Club of this mountain, who many times lose a parent to death, but many times just because of long working hours, divorce, sickness, addiction problems that their parents might have. And they offer such great opportunities for those kids to grow and have someone care about them. And that's why we do that here today. So we ask that people donate to the Boys and Girls Club in memory of them. And that's been my purpose for the past 6 years. And thank you for letting me share that.
Dinner and bunch of
Hi, I'm Ken Nelson. I've been a resident of Crestline for 46 years. Been with the Crest Forest Fire Department back in the old days for 26 at the PCF. 9/11 just kind of changed my perspective on what first responders are, seeing the men and women that went into the building, knowing the dangers involved with that. But what we're doing here today is to honor their memory, but also give respect and honor to those men and women that are still working for us. It's what they do from their heart, unselfishly, and they are here to protect our community. This program that we're doing is memory of 9/11, but also to help raise funds for the Boys and Girls Club of Crestline. And if everything is going right, we will have a safe place for many years to come for our children to go be safe after school while their parents are still working, and their parents can come home to them every night and pick them up with the kids safe, sound, and have learned something. And if we can keep this memorial moving throughout our time here and move this into a place where it's real for every boy and girl, then we've done our mission.
Do you remember where you were that day?
Actually, I was coming up, getting ready to go to work, turned on the TV and looked at a big hole in a building and was thinking, how did a plane hit that building? And while I was watching it, saw the other jet come in and then realized this was something more than just an accident. This was an attack.
I'm Mary Kay Bachman, and on 9/11 I was at home and got a phone call from a girlfriend that I needed to turn on the TV. I was not working that day, but I sat down and watched as an aircraft flew into the World Trade Center. And then when I found out that one of those airplanes was us, American Airlines, and still am a active flight attendant. So this hits home for sure. It was a week later we had a memorial with Congresswoman Mary Bono down in Palm Springs, and a lot of us flight attendants, both United and American, came together for that event. American, we stand united. United, we stand American. And we will never forget our colleagues who came across something so horrible that we were not trained for. But boy, have things changed now.
It's infiltrating our schools. That's why our Common Core curriculum
shares the 5 pillars.
My name is Rudy Westervelt. I live here in Crestline, California. And on September 11th, 2001, I was general manager of a dairy manufacturing plant in Riverside. And that morning, someone called me to come up and look up in the break room at the television when what had just happened. In total shock and dismay. And at that time, I shut down my whole facility and brought everybody up into the lunchroom. And we talked through that process so that they would understand that they needed to protect the public in their jobs and be safe on their jobs and focus on their work and make sure that no one could come in and hurt them or anybody else on our property. And terrorism has been a terrible thing. It's changed our country. It's changed each of us. And we have to be constantly vigilant and watch out for each other.
I was living in Orange County at the time. I woke up first thing in the morning, turned on my computer, and the first thing that hit me was a hastily thrown together graphic of buildings with airplanes sticking out of them. And I thought it was some sort of a joke, and I turned on the news, and I spent the next probably 3 days crying. I just could not believe it. I had to take my son to school that morning on the freeway, and airplane traffic had been grounded, so it was eerily quiet. But the one thing I did notice is that everyone was so much more polite and considerate and looking out for each other. And it was kind of a warming spot in the middle of what was just the most worst day possible.
Yeah, it was very traumatic, and it really hurt a lot of people, changed a lot of ways, the way
it was
America is
unbelievable
today.
watching it unfold. It was almost like, is this another Orson Welles thing? Because it just did not seem possible. And the bad news just kept coming, and I didn't even start to relax and start until I heard throughout the day everybody that I knew who was either in New York or had connections there or business there or visited there. They called everybody and checked in and let them know they were alive and okay. And it was just the worst day, but I think it was also a day where the finest in people came out of necessity. And I hope we never ever have another tragedy like that, but it was reassuring to know that people on a core level still come together and try to bring some good into the evil.
They'll never be forgotten.
Never, ever, ever. I hope it's a lesson people remember forever. Thank you.
I was working at Moldings Plus,
Moldings Plus.
and I was working when I heard it.
Did you see it on the television?
No, I heard it. Somebody
You heard
came in and told us about it.
How do you feel about 9/11 today? Is this something that you remember as far as remembering who sacrificed their lives for us? First
Wow.
responders?
There's been a lot of people that have sacrificed their lives.
Sure. And how about you, sir? How do you feel about it?
Well,
You remember where you were?
I was working at George Brothers Steel in Corona, California. A guy came in and said that the Twin Towers had blown up. I was 18 years old, and it was a very disheartening thing, and we all took a moment in prayer and silence, and then
Yes.
that was pretty much about it.
Yes.
As for the firemen and first responders, much gratitude for them that were able to help those.
Nice.
Much it.
Thank you. And you, sir? You want to say anything?
Yeah, I remember 9/11. I was fresh out of medical school, and I was living in a hotel. I know I wanted to help, so I called up the Red Cross. They said, "What can I do to help?" I just got out of medical school, and they said you can give blood. So that's what I did. Went down and gave blood, and that was it. That's all they required of me.
Did you hear about it on the television as well, or?
I actually did. It was when I got home. It was all over the news.
Yes.
That's how I heard about it. That's when I started making phone calls.
I was in Aswan, 86 Nations. It's up on the St. Lawrence River, independent territory of the Six Nations of the Haudenosaunee. And it was funny. My great aunt is the clan mother of the Mohawk Nation of the Wolf Clan. It was kind of funny what she said after everything was said and done in the council. She came out and she said, kind of ironic. And I go, what are you talking about, Auntie? And she says the exact spot where the attack was the first area that the Europeans took.
9/11 happened on my daughter's first birthday. It was very scary, traumatic, sad thing to happen. Just so sad, all the people that passed away and lost loved ones. And it was a very hard day.
It was my first day of basic training. I showed up, I was sitting on my Army duffel bag holding my civilian bag with the drill sergeants running in and out of the CP yelling that we're all going to die, we're going to war. They bombed the towers. That was before they knew it was the planes.
So you were actually in the service at the time?
Yes.
Serving in the Army?
Army, yep.
And there was an Army on pretty high alert.
Oh yeah, it locked down everything.
A friend of mine called me up and let me know that something had hit the towers, and then I turned on the TV and just saw the second plane hit. Yeah, wow, God, it's amazing to think it's been that long. Seems like it was yesterday.
How do you feel about it today as far as remembering the first responders who went in the towers and the people that died in the towers?
Well, I was a firefighter for a number of years for LA County, and it's, God, I mean, what can you say? I mean, you know, these people save our lives on a daily basis, you know, and to lose that many all at one shot was a brutal blow to the whole country, I think, not just their families. I mean, everybody was affected by that day.
Absolutely. Okay, hit the front again.
Focus is been on the fire department and first responders, because that's what we are. But somebody came in and said, hey, well, what about the law enforcement people that went in? So he brought this over to us yesterday just so that we would have an understanding and can talk about that there were 50 law enforcement officers that went into that building and lost their lives too.
You know, it's funny that these, well, not funny, but it's a shame that these first responders had no idea that that would be their last day.
Well, everybody goes to work as a first responder, and this is across all walks, is that you're taught when you come to work that if you're doing your job right, you're going home in the same condition that you came to work in. And yet those guys, and there's pictures that we've seen where you can look at their faces looking up the hole, and you knew that they knew that this was a different day.
Right. Yeah. And I think it might have been mentioned too about the airlines, Delta, or was it United and American Airlines.
American Airlines.
You think about the first responders going in, sure they're going in there, but there's an element of hope that everything will go fine. But in the situation with those airlines, they knew something was wrong, but that last one, they knew that they were going to die because they'd already heard that other planes had crashed. They were heading towards something, and they chose to basically try to take over that plane knowing that they were all going to die. So they knew they were, but they weren't going to let that plane reach the destination and create the havoc and damage that the other ones had done. And to me, that's real bravery. Those are some real heroes.